Ghost of Yotei is the upcoming action-adventure game developed by Sucker Punch Productions, and it is the second game in the Ghost Anthology series, and it's serving as the standalone sequel to the critically acclaimed Ghost of Tsushima that released in 2020. It was initially announced during the PlayStation State of Play on September 24th, 2024, and it's currently slated for release in 2025, but the big question that everyone wants to know is, when will Ghost of Yotei get released? So today we're going to talk about just that, and we're also going to talk about whether or not this will be a worthy successor to Ghost of Tsushima. Check the video chapters for easy viewing, and let's get started. So for those of you that are unaware, Ghost of Yotei is the second game in the Ghost Anthology series, and the game takes place in 1603 in the land surrounding Mount Yotei, located in Izo, or the modern day Hokkaido, Japan. Now this is a significant shift from the first game setting on Tsushima Island that took place in 1274 during the first Mongol invasion. So there's a 329-year jump between the stories of Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei, and the story starts at the dawn of the Edo period, which was a time of relative peace under the Tokugawa shogunate. But the region of Izo was still outside of Japan's centralized control, which that opens up the narrative involving the indigenous Ainu people, which the theory is that Atsu, our main character, is also of Ainu origin. Unlike Jin Sakai, the samurai protagonist of Ghost of Tsushima, Atsu appears to be a Ronin, which is a samurai that is essentially masterless, with a story that is centered around quote-unquote underdog vengeance. Now, unlike with Ghost of Tsushima, this samurai game is not only going to be just about, samurai swords and other stuff like that. There's also going to be guns like the Teppo rifle or like just the matchlock. And the new game is also set to have a bunch of new mechanics, gameplay improvements, multiple new weapons, a wolf companion, and other technology. Like, this game is going to be a big jump between the first and the second. So just imagine a 300-year leap in the technology. Now, there is a lot of information we do know about Ghost of Yotei, but there's a lot of unknown as well. With Ghost of Yotei currently slated for 2025, that's really all we know about the game. Like, besides the stuff that I mentioned and the release window, that's pretty much it. And right now we're already 3 months into 2025, and we already know when another PlayStation exclusive, Death Stranding 2, is releasing, which that's going to be in June. Where does that put Ghost of Yotei? We also know that GTA 6 will likely release in the fall. So what's the deal with Ghost of Yotei's release date? So like I mentioned, the official release window for Ghost of Yotei is simply quote-unquote 2025, with no other specific date or time frame. So with that being said, when could Ghost of Yotei finally release? Well, if you actually take a look at Ghost of Tsushima's launch, that game dropped on July 17th, 2020. But here's what was really weird about Ghost of Tsushima is there was another game that dropped a month prior, and that was in June, which June 19th, 2020 is when The Last of Us Part 2 dropped, which was a pretty big AAA game dropping right next to Ghost of Tsushima, and it almost overshadowed Ghost of Tsushima in a way. And then you have, another game releasing in June 26th this year, which happened to be, Death Stranding 2, another pretty massive PlayStation exclusive dropping in June. So could history repeat itself and Ghost of Yotei once again get overshadowed by Death Stranding 2? Like, that would be absolutely wild if that happened. If we got back-to-back PlayStation exclusives, like one in June and then one in July, that would be quite unfortunate. Now, Ghost of Tsushima was in development for roughly 6 years. It was revealed in 2017 and then it released in 2020. So if we assume that a 4 to 5 year cycle with reused technology, the engine, the open world, the framework, a 2025 release suggests that the game development started around 2020 or sometime in 2021. So with that being said, I would say that a late 2025 target seems the most plausible given all of the polish that is expected for this title. We know that Sucker Punch Productions are not going to release a game if it's not 100% ready and in the state that it needs to be, because Sucker Punch usually doesn't miss whenever it comes to their games. Like, I don't really know of a game that, Sucker Punch did that was bad. Now, as we know, the game was officially revealed in September 2024 with a cinematic trailer with some small snippets of some gameplay, even though it wasn't full gameplay. That suggests that the game is still in active development. So with it being revealed in September, it releasing in July would also make sense, because it'd be a 12-month gap between the initial reveal and the release. But it could be that they decided to delay it a little bit more to kind of separate itself from all of the other titles launching, and it released more 18 months after the initial reveal. But it's already no secret that 2025 is packed with some really high-profile games. We've already had Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 release, Monster Hunter Wilds, we got Death Stranding 2, we also have, GTA 6 releasing this year, there's Doom the Dark Ages, there's Borderlands 4, there's Death Stranding 2, and just so many other games that are releasing this year. So that's why it might make sense for Sony to slot Ghost of Yotei into a late summer, either July through August or possibly early fall window. to dominate a quieter period. But obviously the big thing that could change that is when GTA 6 is officially launching. Like, PlayStation is not going to want to compete with GTA 6. They'd rather compete with themselves with Death Stranding 2 and release the game in July, basically repeating what they did with Ghost of Tsushima. So let's say they decide on a July 2025 release date for Ghost of Yotei. What does that mean for the rest of the marketing? Right now, the only thing that we've gotten is one singular trailer for Ghost of Yotei, and that was via a cinematic reveal. And with just about 4 months away until July, that means they've got a lot of work to do. Not to mention there was, Death Stranding 2 also releasing in June. So it's like they have to kind of pick and choose what game they want to market more. And as of right now, it might make them more sense to market Death Stranding 2 first, because that would be the game releasing first. But where does that leave us for the rest of the news and reveals for Ghost of Yotei? Well, it is possible that we will get a Ghost of Yotei state of play. Like, if you remember with Ghost of Tsushima, we got a dedicated state of play for that game as well. But here's what's interesting is in April, there's going to be a Borderlands state of play that's dedicated to Borderlands 4, and that game releases in September. So it's like you really have to figure out where they're going to put Ghost of Yotei in the mix. Their only real opportunity for a state of play is to do something, for instance, like let's say in May, they give us a full dedicated state of play for Ghost of Yotei, and then, the game is releasing in July, and that should be enough time to build up hype and excitement, but that's kind of a small window for, marketing. It wouldn't really bode well for pre-orders. Like, I would hope that they would have something out pretty soon that's like a gameplay trailer. Doesn't have to be like a full-on event or anything like that, but just give us a gameplay trailer, announce the pre-orders, and then, have something bigger in May. Alternatively, they could do something more in June. That's like, that's usually when they have their big PlayStation showcase. Show off the full gameplay for Ghost of Yotei during that event, and then just tell people, hey, by the way, Ghost of Yotei releases next month in July, which, that would be cool. But again, it's hard saying what PlayStation is going to do nowadays. They've been kind of going through it lately, and I really hope that Ghost of Yotei is not a game that they just decide to like push aside, because I do feel like this will be a critically acclaimed game. Like, I don't think people understand what Sucker Punch Productions is able to accomplish. Like, these guys are some of the best developers in the industry, and again, I don't think I played a single Sucker Punch Productions game that's been a miss. Like, they've been pretty successful for most of, if not all of the games that they develop. Now, one thing that I do think is very possible is a delay for Ghost of Yotei due to scheduling, and that's from like several factors, including Sony's, release calendar, all of the other competition like GTA 6 releasing in the holidays. Like, 2025 is shaping up to be a major year for game releases, and we're only 3 months into the year. If GTA 6 locks in a late 2025 time slot, that game's dominance could, basically force Sony to shift the game to early 2026 to kind of avoid the juggernaut that is GTA 6. Now, as I mentioned, Sucker Punch Productions has a history of prioritizing quality. Ghost of Tsushima was delayed from June to July 2020 to ensure the game was more polished and to kind of avoid Last of Us Part 2. Sony also typically spaces out its first-party exclusives to maintain a steady beat of, hype and sales. And with Death Stranding 2 releasing in June, adding Yotei to the 2025 lineup might oversaturate things. And then, like, if you don't get the game out in July, then you're pretty much stuck with releasing it either in the fall or delaying it till next year. There's also the possibility that with the PlayStation 5 Pro being adopted, Sony might have them delay Ghost of Yotei to early 2026 to fully showcase it as a PS5 Pro enhanced title, even though I think it probably already will be at launch. They would avoid the situation of them having to release a director's cut. In my opinion, if we don't get any news soon for Ghost of Yotei, like we either get a gameplay trailer or something within the next couple of months, then I could totally see Ghost of Yotei getting delayed till 2026, just to ensure that there's enough marketing and hype for the game's launch. But there's also the situation behind, the fact that Ghost of Tsushima is not going to get a sequel. It's rather an anthology series, and we're not going to continue Jin Sakai's story. That, of course, has some fans disappointed and upset, but then there's also the crowd of people that are just going to hate on anything that's happened with Ghost of Yotei because it's manufactured hate, and a lot of them are activists that are trying to push their own agenda. And you guys know what crowd I'm talking about, the ones that go to every single new game and finds a reason to hate on it or call it woke and stuff like that. But that's gonna wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Are you excited for Ghost of Yotei? Do you plan on picking it up? Thanks again for watching. This has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.